Today, I'm going to be talking about Captain Marvel and how she's ruining the MCU. I'm talking about the character here, not the actress or the movie, even though the movie is pretty bland. But even when discussing her character, I won't be talking about her personality, which is either boring or cocky. I'm just going to be talking about her powers today, or rather how overpowered she is. So let's talk about it, starting with her using her powers in Captain Marvel and then in Endgame, the only two on-screen appearances of her as of yet in the MCU. So let's start with Captain Marvel. 20 minutes into the film, after she's kidnapped by the Skrulls, we get our first fight scene with her alone. And it's fine, nothing too crazy. She escapes from a Skrull ship beating up a bunch of guards, but that's pretty standard. Nothing we haven't seen in previous Marvel films. Neither the opening sequence nor the following train chase sequence have her doing anything too crazy. But the minute she takes off the patch that restrains her powers, this character really falls apart.
I'm finally set free.
First, she single-handedly defeats all of the Kree warriors in Yon-Rog's team. This is done effortlessly and without any struggle. To my understanding, these are the strongest Kree warriors, some of the strongest warriors we know of that exist in this universe, and she defeats them with ease. The film attempts to show her struggle against Jude Law's character, Yon-Rog, but as we all know, she'll be fine. We then see that she's able to fly, but so are many other heroes in the MCU, so it's not that big a deal. Back on Earth, when we do see her fly, it's with incredible speed, and she literally punches Yon-Rog's ship, making it crash. It's true that the ship is rather small, only having the capacity to fit one person, but the fact that she did it with her bare hands is insane. But if you thought that was bad, it gets worse. So much worse. The instant Ronin arrives, I lost all hope for this character. We first see her stop an enormous warhead, again with her bare hands. Sorry, gloved hands. And redirect it back at other missiles. But it doesn't end there, no. She flies through the 20 or so missiles which she has just set off and comes out without a singe. This alone confirms that she is able to take on the first of 20 warheads going off at once. Remember, these aren't small missiles. These are each the size of a small building made with advanced alien technology. Just look at this picture and awe at the sheer size of these things. Ronin then deploys a little over 50 ships at her, and she takes each one out with a single blast, sometimes even taking out multiple in a row. And I kid you not, she belly flops into a ship, which then goes on to explode. She woos as she does this. We now know that if she does so much as to simply touch a metal ship with blasters attached, it will explode with minimal effort put forth from her. If the small ships and the warheads weren't bad enough, she flies through one of Ronin's gigantic ships, causing the entire thing to explode. This is done in under 7 seconds. Yep, I timed it. The entire climax of Guardians of the Galaxy involves our heroes, the Ravengers and the Nova Corps, all trying to stop one of these ships, and she does it within seconds. I honestly don't know why she doesn't kill Ronin. To top it all off, she jumpstarts Yon-Rog's ship with, once again, a single blast. Apparently, sometimes the ships explode, and other times they gain energy. But the ending scene is honestly the worst. I'm gonna ignore the fact that she can breathe in outer space, even though none of the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy, including Peter, a half-celestial, can. What really gets me is that she flies outside the ship at what we can assume is the same speed as the ship. As previously established in the film, they were after a light speed engine, so we can assume that the ship is going at light speed. If she's going the same speed as the ship, then she is literally going at light speed. Captain Marvel can travel at light speed. Let that sink in. I know that with the help of Stormbreaker, Thor can teleport anywhere across the 9 realms and beyond, but he can't decimate a small planet by landing on it. The most we've seen him do is knock out a couple Outriders and burn Wakandan grass. Apart from her ability to travel that fast alone, she can now fly through anyone or anything, including a small planet, and completely obliterate it. With all this said, and ignoring the fact that she is part of a universe where she should be balanced compared to other heroes, I'd be fine with all of this. I'd be fine if she could take on 20 missiles and cut through ginormous ships like they're butter, but I need to see the struggle. Heroes can be powerful if their villains are even more powerful, but here they're not. Also, even if they were, it wouldn't work because in the MCU we will undoubtedly see her with other heroes, so we must compare them. Why are the Avengers trying so hard to stop Thanos if she can do it by herself? That's why they had to write her out of Endgame and, for that matter, the rest of the MCU, because she's too powerful.
What about Thor?
Off-world.
Captain Marvel? Unavailable.
Even the small amount of screen time she does get in Endgame, the writers are forced to ignore some of her abilities, or else the movie would be over within minutes. Speaking of Endgame, she's absent for most of this film, and that's undoubtedly because if she were here, there would be no struggle. Well, that and the fact that there would be an emotional disconnect between her and the audience. But what about what we do see her do in Endgame? Well, first, she lifts the Milano, which is the Guardian ship. I think looking at this picture will give you an idea of scale. She does help hold Thanos down in the opening, but that's okay because he doesn't put up that much of a fight and she has help. On top of this, she has the element of surprise, so I'll let it pass. When she does return at the end of the film, she destroys Thanos' ship in less than 20 seconds. The same ship that has just left all of our other heroes helpless. Not to mention that all the firepower was directed at her. The same firepower that decimated the Avengers compound. I have no idea why Spider-Man asks, quote-unquote, how she's gonna get through all that, when we all know that she can do it with ease, as we see her do. It was a nice moment, though. I'm surprised at the blast from the van blowing up through her back. Maybe because it's quantum energy, I'm not sure. Anyway, we then see her fight Thanos alone, and she holds her own, a headbutt doing nothing to her. The only thing that was able to take her out was a punch powered by the Power Stone, a stone which no longer exists in this timeline. Let's be honest, we've seen her plow down missiles the size of buildings and ships the size of stars before. Add this to the fact that she can travel at light speed and she could easily take out Thanos. The filmmakers had to ignore all this just to make an entertaining climax. She's so powerful that no previous MCU villain or threat would pose much of a challenge to her. In fact, let's do that. Let's go through every MCU film and allow me to explain to you how Captain Marvel would have handled them all. This won't take long, I promise. By the way, I'm going to be going through these films in release order and not chronologically, so let's begin. In Iron Man, Ironmonger would be beaten up pretty easily. Not only is the suit outdated, but she could probably just blast it apart. In Incredible Hulk, Abomination wouldn't be that much of a challenge. In Iron Man 2, Whiplash wouldn't even be a concern, and she could just blast through the drones, causing them to explode. That, or she could belly flop through them, as she did with the ships in the final act of her film. Then comes Thor, and since she claims she takes care of many other planets other than Earth, I wonder why she's absent here. Well, maybe because she knows that Asgardians can handle it, but that being said, if she did choose to help, Loki and the Frost Giants would be done for. She could plow through the Frost Giants and fly through Loki's illusions to apprehend the real one. In Captain America, she would make quick work of Red Skull and the Hydra army, considering she took out elite Kree warriors. Then comes the Avengers, which took 6 heroes to resolve that conflict. We see her take out Thanos' ship in Endgame in less than 20 seconds, so she could do the same here, as opposed to Tony flying a nuke through a wormhole. Moving on to Phase 2, I'll talk more about the world-ending events, and only touch briefly on the Earthbound one hero versus one villain grounded stories. That being said, in Iron Man 3 she would easily take out Aldrich Killian with or without the help of Pepper, Rhodey, and the 50 other Iron Man suits. In Thor: The Dark World, Malekith and the Dark Elves would be taken care of swiftly. In Winter Soldier, rather than get the helicarriers to fire at one another, she would just fly through them, making them explode. We've seen her fly through far bigger ships after all. I've already touched upon Guardians of the Galaxy, but again, we saw her take down one of Ronin's ships in 7 seconds, so the same would be done here. In Age of Ultron, when Sokovia is lifted into the atmosphere, she would just fly through it at light speed, blowing it up, or hold it up and let it down gently, as Tony failed to do. In Ant-Man, Yellowjacket would be less of a threat than he already is. In Civil War, whichever side she chose to be on would instantly win, even if it were just her on it alone against the other Avengers. I could only see her struggling with Wanda. If you don't believe me, again, let me remind you that she can travel at light speed. Dormammu from Doctor Strange would probably be light work. It's hard to say because we never see him be defeated, only outsmarted by Doctor Strange. Though I will say that none of the attacks he uses on Doctor Strange would even affect her. In Volume 2 of Guardians of the Galaxy, Ego's threat stretches upon hundreds of planets, yet she still doesn't intervene. However, it's hard to say whether she'd be able to beat him or not. You see, Peter beat him, but in my opinion, that's only because Peter is half celestial. Like, on a pure power standpoint, I think that they're pretty even, but their power doesn't come from the same source, which is why she could lose. Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming would be a joke. Before we continue, I'm not trying to discredit any of these main villains. Vulture was a great foil for Peter in that film. I just want to put an emphasis on how powerful she is. Then comes Ragnarok, and honestly, this is the only time I could see her struggling. Yes, the only time I could even imagine her not blasting through the enemy with ease is when she's up against the Goddess of Death, who can single-handedly defeat an army, and Shatter Mjolnir, and Surtur, a fire demon who literally destroys Asgard. In Black Panther, she would floor Killmonger. If she were present in Infinity War, Thanos would already be dead, as I explained when covering her Endgame appearances. The ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp wouldn't stand a chance. It's true that she could phase herself out, making Captain Marvel fly through her without getting hurt, but again, it's at light speed, and I doubt her reflexes are that fast. Then comes Captain Marvel, and I've already explained how easily she defeats the main villain from that film. Same goes for Endgame. Lastly, in Far From Home, she would tear through the drones as she did with the ships in her film, rendering Mysterio weaponless. The worst thing about it all is that we know she was around at the time because her film is set in 1992, and had she not been busy on other planets, this could actually have happened. Plus, she could travel at light speed, so I don't see why she can't just make the short trip to Earth every once in a while. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying she has to show up for the little stuff like Yellow Jacket or Vulture. Heck, you could also say that Thor can show up to those events and make quick work of them using the Bifrost. But what if she showed up to at least the main conflicts of the 4 Avengers movies? She would save the day instantly. Need I remind you that Thor shows up to all 4 of those films, aided by the other Avengers, and there was still a struggle. People complain about Wanda being too powerful, but she's not even close to this. The greatest thing she's ever done was suspended Thanos in the air and destroy an Infinity Stone. Those are 2 major feats, but she could only destroy the Infinity Stone because her powers are from it, not because she's just that powerful. While it is true that she was able to hold her own against Thanos even without the raid fire, I don't believe she would be able to win. While Captain Marvel didn't defeat Thanos either, as previously discussed, if the writers didn't forget she could travel at light speed, she could easily have won. On top of all of this, you have to remember that they both got their powers from Infinity Stones, and yet one is immensely more powerful. People say that Captain Marvel couldn't beat Thanos, but Wanda almost did, but I'll remind you that Thanos had a stone when he fought Captain Marvel. He didn't have one when he fought Wanda. Plus, as I've mentioned before, if they hadn't ignored Captain Marvel's powers, she would have won easily. A lot of people also believe that Thor is too powerful, but so are his villains. The struggle is there. In the most recent installment in the Thor series, Thor Ragnarok, the villains are literally the Goddess of Death and Surtur, a fire demon. I've already went over how powerful both of them are. So yes, he is powerful, but at least he struggles, and his powers aren't even comparative to Captain Marvel's. I originally planned to compare her to every hero in the MCU, but I felt that after explaining how she stacks up against these 2, you get the picture.
There's no competition for me because I'm the strongest.
Oh, yeah, you should let her think that.
I said before, it's just a fact. It's not a personal opinion.
No,
and it's not a reflection on what you can't do.
It's just that you're just not that strong.
A lot of people that I know seem to give her a pass because she's a woman and this is the first MCU film to have a female superhero as the lead, but I just don't think that's fair. It's like saying powerful is all a woman needs to be a well-developed character. But here's another question. Where's she gonna go from here? She's peaked. She has no character flaws, no struggle, no one who can beat her. Thanos, the main villain of the entire Infinity Saga, who couldn't be beaten by over 30 heroes, who stabbed Tony and floored the Hulk without using any of the Infinity Stones, can't even hurt her with a headbutt. It hurts how in Endgame it's all about the heroes we love, and then she comes, blows up Thanos' ship, and puts our heroes to shame. The writers had to write her out of the entire movie because she's just too powerful, and when she does return, they have to ignore her powers. She would handle any Avengers level threat with ease, and I honestly have no interest in the character. She's flawless, insanely powerful, and will therefore have to continuously be written out of the MCU. What a shame that this is our first female superhero to get her own film in the MCU.